Energy Telecom, através de suas 4 empresas, atua em todo o Brasil, integrando os principais serviços e soluções quando pensamos em tecnologia. Projetos de Public Cloud, comunicação unificada, Big Data, infraestrutura, Data Center, Client License, Cybersecurity e educação. Você pode contar com o grupo Energy Telecom. Sempre a melhor solução.
Nós protegemos a tecnologia para você explorar novas realidades. Fazer o que quiser, quando quiser. Fazer amigos virtuais. Estar perto, mesmo estando longe. E conquistar novas fronteiras. Garantimos sua segurança digital para um futuro melhor. Kaspersky. Bring on the future.
Vale do Paraíba, uma região única com múltiplas vocações. A nossa é a tecnologia, é a inovação. Nós somos a NIP-BR. Trabalhamos para integrar, conectar, expandir, informar, entreter. A NIP-BR é solução corporativa, é internet, TV por assinatura, é telefonia digital. Os melhores serviços com o melhor custo-benefício. NIP-BR, sua melhor opção em internet, telefonia e TV por assinatura.
Você é daqueles que acham que ser moderno é ter um aplicativo para cuidar do seu dinheiro? É também. Agora, moderno mesmo é fazer parte de um grupo de pessoas que cooperam e crescem juntas.
Tem gente que acha que um bom atendimento é ter um gerente pronto para te ajudar. Nada mal, né? Mas pra gente ter voz e participar das decisões relacionadas ao nosso dinheiro.
Tem gente que acha que somos um banco. Somos muito mais. Somos feitos de valores.
Our infrastructure and natural resources can't keep up with growing demands. We need to be smarter. We need to care more. It's time to create smart infrastructure. We can because we connect energy systems, buildings, and industries to adapt and evolve the way we live and work for the good of the planet and the people. Creating environments that care. Smart infrastructure from Siemens.
A maior rede de pesquisas do mundo, com 5,5 bilhões de acessos por dia. Uma rede social avaliada em 70,7 milhões. Sabe qual a semelhança entre essas empresas? O investimento em softwares e algoritmos inteligentes. Tinova e SPS.
Na era da transformação digital, a Tria Software é o seu parceiro ideal. Trabalhamos com a aplicação de solução em software padronizada ou sob medida para melhorar o desempenho dos processos de sua empresa. Tria Software.
Bom dia! Voltamos ao vivo aqui do Parque Tecnológico em São José dos Campos, onde acontece a 7ª RM Vale TI e também o 4º Fórum da Indústria Espacial Brasileira. 2 eventos que pela primeira vez acontecem assim no formato online. Eu sou a Mirella e sigo aqui interagindo virtualmente com os nossos palestrantes. Hoje, dentro da programação da feira, o dia é todo dedicado ao varejo. Tivemos 2 painéis pela manhã e agora teremos mais 2 no período da tarde, a partir das 13h15. Agora vamos abrir um espaço aqui na nossa programação para as atividades do 4º Fórum da Indústria Espacial, que nesse ano está trazendo tecnologias espaciais que podem ser aplicadas aí ao seu negócio. Lembrando que as palestras do fórum são em inglês, então se você precisar da tradução simultânea, o ícone do globo aqui na parte superior do site, basta você clicar que você recebe aí a tradução automaticamente. Vamos lá então dar abertura ao último dia do fórum. No painel de agora, os nossos palestrantes vão mostrar para você como a tecnologia espacial pode ser usada para a indústria. Vamos chamar então os nossos palestrantes. Olá, welcome, hello, Francisco, Ken, Marcelo e o Leonardo. O nosso mediador, nosso moderador desse painel vai ser o Leonardo Smenhen, que é o vice-presidente da Concert Technologies. Leonardo, o painel é todo seu. A good job for you all.
Thank you. Good morning for all. Well, my name is Leonardo Menhem, and I am the Vice President of Concert Technologies. Our company has been working the last 10 years supporting our launch centers in real-time solutions for the Alcântara Launch Center and Barreira do Inferno Launch Center. And today, I think that we will be dealing with one of the most important challenges for the next steps in our space program. The space sector is high intensive in technology, and a big challenge is how to bring the technology development close to the industry. In other words, we have to develop an ecosystem involving the public sector, involve the private sector, involve universities, startups, and this is simple to say, but very difficult to construct. Well, to discuss it today, we have Francisco Garonci from Galileo Consortium, Marcelo Essado from Brazilian Space Startup Association, and Ken Davidian from Federal Aviation Administration. I think that our discussion will be very interesting, and I hope that at the end we can find some way to go ahead. Thank you for your time, for your dedication, and we will begin with Francisco Garance. Thank you, Francisco.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. And I am speaking to Brazilians, and as I am a Brazilian, and as we have a wonderful translation service in this event, I will make my presentation in Portuguese, okay?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to start this presentation by sharing with you this image of our great sponsor for this initiative that we have here in Brazil in relation to publishing the work of Galileo, which is actually a constellation of satellites that work with geo-positioning and navigation system using a satellite infrastructure. This is an initiative from the European Commission, and I would like to start in this quick speech by putting some important advantages of the Galileo system. It is the navigation system from European satellites. It is in full operation. It is a civilian project. It is free. It is open. You don't need to pay anything to have access to these high precision and accuracy data that Galileo offers, and it works in integration with existing systems such as GPS, GLONASS, and Beidou, the Chinese system as well. So there's no need for those who want to use the Galileo technology, be it in their own apps and in their own initiatives and opportunities, be it in industry services. So if you don't need to opt into Galileo or other systems. You can use them in an integrated manner. You can actually increase the performance of your service or of your application using these services and systems in an integrated fashion. Today, Galileo has 26 satellites which are active. It is a completely operational system. It uses frequency bands that make it so that the GNSS system in Europe is less susceptible to solar condition variations, ionosphere variations. It has a digital signature system in order to promote a larger security in the signal and to avoid unwanted interferences. And it actually has the SAR functionality, which for me, it makes me very emotional because I am a pilot from aviation. I am a rescue pilot, and in many opportunities, I have operated as a commander of airplanes or helicopters in rescue operations. So I just like to take this opportunity to greet all of the pilots who are watching us today, because now today in Brazil, the 23rd of October is the Aviator Day. It is the first flight that Santos Dumont had. I just like to say this to all the aviators that we have. Francisco.
Here I'll start a video talking about the Galileo.
Satellite positioning has become a vital part of our everyday lives and is key for farming, science, precise timing, and emergency response. We use it in our phones, cars, planes, trains, ships, and thousands of other applications. Initially, it was powered by an American system, GPS, or Global Positioning System. A few years later, a Russian system, GLONASS, was introduced. In 2016, Galileo, the European Global Navigation System, launched its initial services. So what is Galileo, and what makes it different from other constellations? Galileo is a European state-of-the-art system that provides highly accurate, guaranteed global positioning and super precise timing. Once fully deployed, Galileo will consist of 24 operational satellites and 6 in-orbit spares, 23,000 kilometers above the Earth, supported by a range of terrestrial sensor stations and control centers around the world. Galileo is autonomous, but also interoperable with existing satellite navigation systems, and many devices combine 2 or 3 constellations to increase accuracy and reliability. While it can work with other systems, Galileo is unique. First of all, it's European and under civilian control. All other systems are operated by the military, so it provides Europe and European citizens with independence and sovereignty. Galileo also provides a range of new services, including search and rescue, PRS, a secure service for government applications, and a more precise positioning for commercial applications. By offering dual frequencies as standard, Galileo will in fact deliver new levels of real-time positioning accuracy and substantially improve availability of the service under the most extreme circumstances. By deploying Galileo, Europe also minimizes the risk of other navigation systems being switched off or degraded. Galileo is the result of unprecedented European cooperation and innovation to offer people across the globe a new, reliable, independent civilian navigation and timing system that will power limitless applications.
Well, and I'm here representing the Brazil Information Center of Galileo here in Brazil. And our main objective here in the country is just to show for industry, for services area, all the possibilities of new applications that may be used here in Brazil. Of course, we have a way to work, and we are offering support in 4 specific areas. For industry, we are at this showing the many applications that we may use, that we can use here in the country. They are all connected with innovations. This is the way, that's the why we have a technological support, and this is made by technicians, by engineers that are working every day with the developments of the use of Galileo technology. And this is offered for all Brazilian initiatives that are intending to use Galileo technology for your applications, for everything that you're intending using this technology. And as I explained, you don't have to choose GPS or Galileo, GLONASS or Galileo. You may use both them, 3 of them, and today they are interacting, and you can use it in the same device that can use all these technologies, and they will just upgrade the quality of the service that you're offering. We also has a training program. In this training program, we are offering it through the Barcelona Tech University and University of Ceará in Brazil. We are preparing and we are offering some courses to prepare Brazilian specialists and researchers to use Galileo technology. And at this moment, we are doing this networking service just to let you know that we are here, that this technology is available, it's operational, and it just needs to be used. One of these possibilities is just the use of SAR, Search and Rescue. We have 24 Galileo satellites that are ready, and they are at this moment integrating the COSPAS SARSAT system. Brazil is part of this program, this international program for decades that we are part of it. And our satellites from Galileo, we are receiving all frequencies on 406 megahertz, and we have a global cover for these receptions, and it has a possibility that is unique, is the return link service. When you are in a distress situation and you request from this frequency the activation of the rescue services, you don't have until this moment the information that this service is working to help you. And through Galileo satellites, it's the great innovation. And for me, as search and rescue pilot, I know that it is a great difference, because when you are in an emergency situation, to receive the information that all the groups integrated, that everything is working to go there and to rescue you, it is an important, extremely important information. And as you can see in this figure here, beacon is activated. It's the signal. It may be for GPS, GLONASS, Galileo. All of them are capable today to receive information and to send to the centers for search and rescue activation of the service. But Galileo is the only one that has the return link service, and it sends a message to that one that requested the help, the information that everything is going on, that they received this signal and they are working to help you. You can imagine the situation of this one, and we have here a video that presents clearly this situation. Okay, and as you could see, this is just one of many, many possibilities of the use of Galileo technology. And this is not only an European initiative, it at this moment, here in Brazil, we have the counterparts for these great companies from Europe, as Pildo Labs, Everest, Ineco, Iner, and also Barstec, the university, with here in Brazil, Parque Tecnológico de São José dos Campos, Mundo Geo, Imunitore, and Universidade of Ceará. As you can see, we have many applications in timing, in processing information. We have also opportunities for precision agriculture, in the use for drones, aviation, navigation. And I am here just to let you know that the Brazilian Information Center is the point of contact. And we are here, you may have all my information, my phone number, WhatsApp, and it's available 24 hours a day. And I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to share with you the Galileo technology opportunities, and to let you know that we are here available for everyone that is intending to use Galileo technology. Please contact us, and we will be so proud to give you all information to the use of this technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francisco. Very, very, very interesting. You showed us a big solution developed by a great organization, and which can be applied in many different areas, as you told us. Well, we will see the other side, the side of the small initiatives. The startups have important action to do in this ecosystem. So I'd like to invite Marcelo Essado to show us your vision. Thank you, Marcelo.
Thank you, Mr. Leonardo. Thanks to Brazilian Space Agency for the invitation and the realization of this event. I will talk about Brazilian Space Startup Alliance that was just founded in this month. But it's important to you to know that our association, civil association, is new, but our associates, our members, have been acting in the space sector and for Brazilian space program some years ago. Why and what is the motivation for us to have a Brazilian space startup civil association? We realize that we have a strong dependence of government. We have some space technology developing by legacy space companies. We have some lack of investments from public and private sector. And many startups have dependence on diversification of products and services that would make them lost their focus. So this have been happen here in Brazil market. Once we realize that, we call all the actors together, and we establish the Brazilian Space Startup Alliance. It's a non-governmental, non-private, and non-profit association. Our goal is to bring together, to integrate, to support, and to represent Brazilian space startups from national and international partners. So the reason for our existence is to strengthen and dynamize the Brazilian space market by promoting product arrangements and encouraging innovation and developing disruptive, agile, competitive, and intelligent solutions for national and international markets. So that's one of the main purpose. Our headquarters have been established in Alcântara, city of Alcântara, state of Maranhão in Brazil. We are more or less 5 kilometers from the Alcântara Space Center Airport, 12 kilometers from Alcântara Space Center. So the idea is we can provide support for our associates and for Brazilian space program. That's the idea. So the mission of our alliance is to be a national and international reference on integration, promotion, and support of Brazilian space startup in the global space market. As I told before, we have just founded the association this month. Now we are in process of civil registration, and soon we will be operating and acting in the ecosystem, innovation ecosystems of Brazil. Once again, it's important to remind you that our associates, here I have some numbers, our associates have startups and small companies that have been working for Brazilian space programs since some time ago. We have 13 space startups as foundation members. We have 2 space startups and 12 individuals as collaborating members. So I bring here the contact. You can get in touch with us using this email or with me directly. I will be here to help or provide any assistance or any information that could be useful. Thank you once again. I'll keep available.
Well, congratulations, Marcelo, for your initiative. I think that you will have a very important role in the ecosystem that we are talking about. Now, I would like to invite Ken Davidian to show us your vision about this theme. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you very much, Leonardo, and thank you very much to the Brazilian Space Agency for inviting me to speak today. I think I was invited because I recently got my PhD in business management, studying industry emergence. I work at the FAA, Office of Commercial Space Transportation. In our office, we have 2 missions. One is to protect the uninvolved public from commercial space activities, and the other is to encourage, facilitate, and promote the industry. My job is for that second mission, to encourage, facilitate, and promote the industry. To grow an industry, I wanted to understand better how to do that in a smart way. So that's why I went back to school and started studying that. And what I'm going to show you here are just main topics that I think will touch on the major goals that the forum set out for itself. So the first major goal was to strengthen the value chain of the space sector. So we're going to talk about that very briefly. And we're going to talk about what the space sector is. We always talk about an ecosystem. So I'm going to show you at a very high level what that is. Next, we're going to talk about how to identify and attract companies into the space sector and the application segment. And then finally, we'll talk very briefly about the importance of space and space economics for socioeconomic development. One of the main messages that keeps coming up in discussing industry emergence and growing an industry is this story of the elephant and the blind man. Here, maybe you know the story. Here, the elephant is surrounded by blind men, and each blind man is touching one part of the elephant. One blind man thinks the elephant, he's touching the tusk. He thinks it's smooth and hard. Another blind man is touching the tail. He thinks it's like a rope. Another blind man is touching the leg. He thinks it's like a tree. So each blind man has a different perspective of what the elephant is. And none of them are wrong, but the only way that they really understand the elephant is when they put their perspectives together. And that's what we have in industry as well. We have a technological understanding of industry. We have an economic understanding of industry. And now there's other perspectives we can add to those perspectives. Those perspectives are not wrong, but they need to be augmented with other blind men around the elephant. And so that's what we're going to talk about first. So here we go. what is space? A lot of academics will tell you that space is not an industry. It's not like chemistry or mechanics. It's an aggregation of different disciplines. But first we can look at space as a technology, a system of technologies. And here I'm showing communities of spaceports, launch vehicles, and in-space vehicles. These are very large categories, what I would call an industry, that comprise the core functions and critical infrastructure of the space industry. Within, for example, launch vehicles, you have 7 or 8 segments. And within each of those segments, you have individual companies. So, for example, one of the segments of a launch vehicle will be suborbital human launch vehicles. And I'll show you a picture, or I'll show you a model. Here's a model of Spaceship Two. So this is going to be a human suborbital vehicle. That's one of the segments within space transportation. Another segment will be small launchers to orbit that can launch small satellites into orbit. These are the type of launchers that can be launched out of Alcantara. So within each of those hexagons are many segments, and within each of the segments are individual firms. So these are looking at the industry just as the technologies. The next way to look at it is to start understanding the economic systems. The firms within those core segments need to have financial relationships with other types of companies that provide power systems or propulsion systems. Also, the business support industries. I need a lawyer. I need an accountant. They come from a different community. I need help from the automotive industry. I need help from the electronics industry. You get help from other types of industries, and these are all financial relationships. And in fact, you can start moving upstream into the raw materials of finance, human capital, and raw materials, and all the way down to the downstream sector of applications, of ticket sales, of customer service, of hospitality. These are all communities that have segments and firms that are part of the system. And all of the firms within these communities will create financial relationships with each other. And this is what creates the economic system that is the ecosystem of space. However, when you start looking at it, the non-financial relationships, you start have to bring in trade organizations, other international organizations, relationships with the domestic government, and relationships with foreign governments. So now you have all these other types of relationships that don't involve money, but they involve relationships and transactions of a sort. And this is the major picture. This is looking at the space sector as a social system. And you might say, oh my God, this is so complicated. And the answer is, yeah, that's right. This is very complicated. And this is why it's a very hard thing to do. So when you start looking at what this, here we go. When you start looking at what the growth of an industry looks like, it maps out like this. This is a chart that shows how the suborbital tourism industry, the industry with this kind of vehicle, how the industry emerged over time. And it didn't emerge over 5 years. It didn't emerge over 10 years. This chart covers 70 years of emergence. So this is just an example of one industry segment, human suborbital tourism. But you could have a chart like this that shows how industries emerge over time. And what this chart shows is the linkages between governments and technology firms and financial capital, and how everybody talks to each other. So there's this very complicated spider web of relationships that help an industry grow. So now, getting to the second point of how do we identify the companies and how do we attract these companies? And this is, I wanted to bring in Everett Rogers' work talking about how do consumers adopt new innovations. And it's very similar to how do we get companies to adopt a new line of business? How do we get them into the space industry? And just as there are segments of consumers, and when you want to sell a new product, you want to target the innovators and the early adopters. These are the people who are willing to try new things. Those are the people you want to sell to at first. In the same way, when you're trying to attract new companies, you want to try to attract the companies that are the innovators and the early adopters. These people are willing to work with you to bring in a new technology or to try new things. And so you can try to go after all companies, but really the ones that'll be easiest to convince and will be the most successful are the ones that are going to be the innovators and the early adopters. So this is one way to try to target firms to bring them into the space sector, no matter where they are on the upstream or downstream segment of the industry. And also, when I want to try to get a company to adopt a new technology, there's 3 steps that have to take place. One is I have to tell them about the new technology. That's transmission. But then they're going to hear it through their own lenses and their own filters. And when I talk to another person, they're going to hear it through a totally different set of filters, and they're going to hear something different. So after transmitting the information, you have to translate the information, and not from English to Portuguese. You have to translate it from Portuguese to Portuguese. They're going to hear certain things in certain ways, and it takes a lot of discussion to make sure that you're talking about the same thing. Finally, once they understand what you're talking about, you have to they're going to take that technology and they're going to transform it into something they can use. So that's the 3rd step of the process. So this is a very hard process, and this is why technology transfer is not successful very easily. It takes a lot of work. We tend to transmit and transfer the information a lot, but translating it and transforming it are the next 2 steps there. And that's a lot harder to do. And then finally, you have to look at the industry as a social system. And this is when it gets complex. Now, I'm showing 4 different models here of industry as a social system. And it goes all the way back to the 1950s. That green model there is the early 1950s. The most recent is the Frank Giles model in the upper right-hand corner. That's more in the 2000s. And you can see in the green and the brown and the blue boxes, you basically have 4 quadrants. You're talking about industry, which is like the technological proprietary functions. You're talking about government, which are the institutional arrangements. These set the goals for what need to be done. You're talking about the integrating systems or the resources that are needed, not only money, but people and also scientific knowledge. And then there's the 4th quadrant, which is the hardest part to model, which is society and culture. And a lot of the models kind of just ignore that because it's so hard to model. The picture in the upper right-hand corner, the Giles model, the culture and the technology are primarily located in those 2 upper wavy bands. That's the landscape. That's the background upon which all these other technologies and economic transactions are taking place. So these are the models, but people are starting to look at industry as a big social system. So I'll get off the stage now, but we want to strengthen the space ecosystem by recognizing that there are complex connections with financial transactions and non-financial relationships. And all these together comprise the ecosystem. The important thing is not to get freaked out about how complex it is, but to look at the complexity, figure out what the important part is, and then simplify that part of it. So we have to work through the complexity to find the simplicity. We need to attract the companies that are early adopters and innovators that really want to join the effort of working hard to make that technology understandable and then transform that technology into specific things that the space sector can use. And then finally, we need to start studying the impacts, all those connections. We need to study how those connections are formed, what kind of impact those connections have, and then start ultimately being able to measure that impact. So I think that's it. So thank you very much again to the organizers for letting me present, and I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Ken. Your presentation was really brilliant.
Thank
Congratulations.
you Thank you very much.
As a matter as a matter of fact, you showed us a roadmap to build our space sector ecosystem. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was
My
very,
pleasure.
very interesting. Well, I have here some questions that I'd like to present you. The first one for Francisco Laronci. Francisco, please. How the companies can use the Galileo technology in a simple way? How the company can do this?
Yes. Galileo is a cutting edge technology, especially for navigation, timing, positioning, and it can be used by Brazilian entrepreneurs. And as Marcelo was talking here, it's not easy to be an entrepreneur in Brazil. But this center of information of Galileo technology that was located here in Brazil, and we don't have many of them in the world. Here is a special opportunity that the community from Europe saw here in our country to present this technology, and it can be used, as I explained here, in agriculture, in drones technology. It can be used for financials, communications, and there is an array of possibilities. And it's impossible to talk of all of them in 15 minutes. But I think the most important is to offer this point of contact. And I'm here, and we have a group of technologists, a group of researchers that are working with our Universidade of Ceará and with the Barça Tech University. And we have many, many applications that you can use. And as I explained, you don't need to choose. I was intending to use GPS. Now I have the possibility with more accuracy to use Galileo, so I cannot use GPS. No, you can use both then. But I was using GLONASS. Okay, you can use GLONASS, GPS, you can use Galileo. And there is also this possibility of the SAR, the Search and Rescue Return Link, and you can develop many applications from them. And I'm sure that is one of the possibilities that I'm strictly connected with it, but we have many other of them, and I'm available every day. You have here my phone number, my contacts, email, to explain in the area. You can contact me and I will show you. If you are working with drones in this area, you have many applications. No, I'm working with precision agriculture. Okay, we have some possibilities, and some of them that need to be developed for our country. We have some of them in Europe, some of them in other parts of the world, but we have specific needs in our country, and we are here just to offer you this support.
In other words, Francisco, if I need a service, some kind of service from Galileo Consortium, I only have to send you an email.
Yes, yes. It's a simple way. And this is what I do during all the day, to answer these questions and to put all in connection with the specialists, the experts that are working at this moment in the area that you are intending to develop, in the area that you are intending to interpret.
Okay. I have another question. I have another question for you, Francisco.
Okay.
Are there initiatives to involve Brazilian companies to develop and use Galileo technologies? Are you working in this direction?
Yes, yes. We already have it, the connection with Mundo Gel. We have the connection with the iMonitor. It's a Brazilian company located in São Paulo, and they are developing not only applications but also making reports of opportunities in our country. And steps of this process, we already have opportunities in this area being identified. We are mapping all of them, and we are also developing some of them, including with the registration of intellectual property. And these are in process at this moment because we have many new possibilities using this cutting edge technology.
Thank you. Well, I have a question here for Marcelo. Marcelo, I think, as a matter of fact, that it's very early to put this question, but it's here. I have to put it.
Let's go.
Well, how the association is going to work to bring space technology to industry?
Good question. In fact, it's not so early like that because our associates have been developing technology for Brazilian space program since some time ago. So the idea is to establish partnership to bring together the actors of the Brazilian space program that includes private sector, the government, and our startups to start and develop projects in research and development and technology development. One of the steps we are now is to get in touch with some private actors of the that can use our service and our products. Once the space program in Brazil, it's very dependent of the government. So we now want to bring this technology to the private sector. So we have some initiatives in the agribusiness sector, for example, that we have been talking some time, and it seems that we have some results soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I have a question here for Ken. Ken, you told us that about the power of relationships. It's very interesting your vision about that. But it's impossible to build ecosystem without improved relationships. Well, and of course, the government has an important role in this scenario. Well, we have a question for you. What if AA is doing about the regulation to promote the approximation of private sector?
That's a great question, Leonardo. Thank you. The FAA, like I said, has the mission to promote the industry. And from a regulatory perspective, we want to make sure we don't over-regulate the industry. We want to make sure that we regulate only to the extent necessary. Those are the exact words in the law. So we only want to make sure that we regulate to a certain level of safety. We want to make sure that the airspace is safe and that when the commercial space traffic goes through the airspace, airplanes go like this and rockets go like this. You want to make sure that there's no collisions. You want to make sure that they do that safely. But we want to make sure that we do not put too much burden on industry. So we just got done writing a new rule and trying to consolidate the rules and trying to make the rules performance-based rather than prescriptive so that new space companies can introduce new technologies and introduce new ways to comply with the regulations that we might not have foreseen. So not every test and failure analysis can be predicted. So we want to leave that option up to the companies so that they can conduct the appropriate analysis for their technology that perhaps we could not predict when the rules were written. So we're trying to make sure we don't over-regulate the industry at all times.
Very interesting, very interesting. And I have another question for you in the same directions. In the new space, the private sector is increasing very fast. And the relationship between the government and the private sector is being more complex. what is the impact of this space ecosystem?
That's a good question, and it's a double-edged sword. There's two parts to this coin. On one side of the coin, the government is providing resources. They're providing money so that these companies can develop their technology and they can enter into operations. The government has been helping SpaceX. The government has been helping Virgin Galactic. The government has entered into contracts with Blue Origin. So on one side of the coin, they're providing valuable resources so these companies can survive. In the economic perspective, the traditional economic perspective, companies are driven by profit and they're motivated by profit. In the social sciences, organizations are driven by survival. They will make decisions that are financially irrational if it helps them survive. And that's kind of what you see in an emerging market. These companies just need to survive. So they need the money wherever they can get it. And the government in the United States is helping them. The other side of the coin is that by helping those companies and giving them money, now these companies are getting used to working with the government. They're doing their books and signing their invoices in a way the government wants them to do, but it might not be the way the market wants them to do it. They might not be producing a product the market wants when they're producing a product the government wants. And the ability to change from what's called an institution logic or a command and control logic to a market logic is not very easy, because the company starts making procedures and they do policies and they create all these methods that are aligned to the government, not to the market. So, like I said, it's a double-edged sword.
Thank you, Ken. Marcelo, I have here a question for you that is related to the last question. Look, the space sector is changing very fast and the private sector is getting more importance. In the other hand, the government budgets is decreasing. So we are talking about the, the, the survive of the companies and even the, of the program. How the association will work in this scenario to find new ways of financing? Good questions, very good question.
Very, very good question. Yeah. We are focused on the private sector. We should achieve the customers, the private customers, right? And in Brazil, we have some markets that need to explore more, like for example, agriculture, and animals creations. We have some lack of technology, for example, in the navigation systems using in the agriculture or even in automotive systems. So that's one of the reasons that we have created this association, is to achieve, to find the private customers. We have some members, some associates that develop research and development program, including with international partners. But as your question, for us, for our associates to survive, we should develop products and services and put it on market. So we are an optimistic view of the Brazilian market, not just Brazilian, also Latin America and worldwide. Of the technology that we can develop here, and already some of them already in use, in fact.
Okay. I have another question for you. How a startup or a company can associate to your organization?
Thank you. That's a good question. I thank you for that. It's an easy process. Just to provide us some information, we submit this information for the association, and then we will start an interview with the company, the startup, or even the individual that wants to be a collaborator of our association. It is possible. So you have just to fill a form and send it to us. You can get in touch through the email I provided the presentation. If you didn't get yet, you can watch this video later or even get in touch with the organization of this event.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank you very much. It was very interesting. Unfortunately, we have to go to the end. Well, I would like to ask you your final words, and we'll go to the end. Francisco, your final words, please.
First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity to be here representing Galileo Consortium. And as Ken explained, it's not easy to talk about this in 15 minutes. We have many possibilities, many applications. And as Marcelo explained, it's not easy to interpret in this world of space technology here in our country, but it's possible. And of course, if the European Commission decided to implement here in our country a center of information just for Galileo, it's because it's obvious that here in the country we have many opportunities for companies, for entrepreneurs to use this technology. And of course, it must be good just not only for the European Commission, but also for the companies, for the entrepreneurs here in our country. And so this is why we thank you very much for this opportunity. And I will be here waiting the contact, and I will stay in contact with all of you to show you all opportunities and applications using Galileo technology. Thank you, Leonardo. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Francisco. Ken, please, your final words.
Thank you very much, Leonardo, and I want to thank Francisco and Marcelo for being great co-panelists. I loved your messages. I'm really encouraged by what I'm hearing from the Brazilian Space Agency and what's going on in the entrepreneurial world in Brazil. I encourage you to make good use of the great resources that your great country has, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Ken. And Marcelo, your time.
Okay, I would like to thank you, Mr. Leonardo, to conduct this meeting, and our colleagues, Mr. Francisco, Mr. Ken. Thank you for the participation. I would like to say to everybody that is watching, thank you for your time, and we are here to promote not just our associates, but the Brazilian space program. We are commitment with the Brazilian space program and the technology that we should develop. We are open to converse, to talk, and to have conversation to anyone that is interested to be an associate and to work together with us. The idea is to put together all the actors and improve the program. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. And one more time, I conclude that we have neurons. We need to make synapses. This is our challenge to build a strong space sector ecosystem. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to know you and to stay here with you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. It was a very rich panel. Congratulations. Have a nice day. Bom, nós vamos fazer agora do Fórum da Indústria Espacial Brasileira, mas retomamos às 14h com o segundo fórum, segundo e último painel de hoje. Vamos falar sobre as novas abordagens para o setor espacial. E depois, às 13h15, seguimos então com a programação da RM Vale TI. Aguardo por vocês.
Grupo Energy Telecom, através de suas 4 empresas, atua em todo o Brasil, integrando os principais serviços e soluções quando pensamos em tecnologia. Projetos de Public Cloud, comunicação unificada, Big Data, infraestrutura, Data Center, Client License, Cybersecurity e educação. Você pode contar com o Grupo Energy Telecom. Sempre a melhor solução.
Nós protegemos a tecnologia para você explorar novas realidades. Fazer o que quiser, quando quiser. Fazer amigos virtuais. Estar perto, mesmo estando longe. E conquistar novas fronteiras. Garantimos sua segurança digital para um futuro melhor. Kaspersky. Bring on the future.
Vale do Paraíba, uma região única com múltiplas vocações. A nossa é a tecnologia, é a inovação. Nós somos a NIP-BR. Trabalhamos para integrar, conectar, expandir, informar, entreter. A NIP-BR é solução corporativa, é internet, TV por assinatura, é telefonia digital. Os melhores serviços com o melhor custo-benefício. NIP-BR, sua melhor opção em internet, telefonia e TV por assinatura.
Você é daqueles que acham que ser moderno é ter um aplicativo para cuidar do seu dinheiro? É também. Agora, moderno mesmo é fazer parte de um grupo de pessoas que cooperam e crescem juntas.
Tem gente que acha que um bom atendimento é ter um gerente pronto para te ajudar. Nada mal, né? Mas pra gente ter voz e participar das decisões relacionadas ao nosso dinheiro.
Tem gente que acha que somos um banco. Somos muito mais. Somos feitos de valores.
Our infrastructure and natural resources can't keep up with growing demands. We need to be smarter. We need to care more. It's time to create smart infrastructure. We can because we connect energy systems, buildings, and industries to adapt and evolve the way we live and work for the good of the planet and the people. Creating environments that care. Smart infrastructure from Siemens.
A maior rede de pesquisas do mundo, com 5,5 bilhões de acessos por dia. Uma rede social avaliada em 70,7 milhões. Sabe qual a semelhança entre essas empresas? O investimento em softwares e algoritmos inteligentes. Tinova e SPS.
Na era da transformação digital, a Tria Software é o seu parceiro ideal. Trabalhamos com a aplicação de solução em software padronizada ou sob medida para melhorar o desempenho dos processos de sua empresa. Tria Software.